Hello. It's been a while. A couple months, in fact. I'll spare the details. This video is about D&D, not where I've been. If you are curious, though, I will put a little something in the description, kind of explaining everything. For those who know me, you probably already know, but it'll be there. So, anyway, let's get on with the main point. A while ago, the desire to create a monster for D&D surfaced. And so, I began. Basic concept, it's not really the most creative and original thing. I just took animated armor and gave it classes. For the most part, this was fine. When I started, I didn't have an idea specifically how I wanted them to end up. I just had a general idea that I wanted them to be a sort of pack monster. I kind of settled at a CR 10 kind of level, but since they're supposed to be in a pack when they're played, individually they're probably not anywhere close CR 10. I had planned for there to be 3 tiers, and that's still kind of the idea that I'm going with. Lower tiers to work with, just so that when you pair them with other monsters, you can also pair them with animated armors, same type. So you can create a sort of squad with these, using different character armors, if that's how I'm going to refer to them for now. But these ones that I've created so far are supposed to represent the higher tiers of them. A couple ideas came up during creation that would probably be funny to add to a higher level, but for the most part, these are supposed to be the highest tiers of each one, respectively. I finished making these a while ago, and I spent some time kind of sitting around waiting to test them, but I did manage to get one test game in, which gave me a couple things to tweak around, some of which will be present here. But there wasn't a lot of things that I could really glean from that, and I'll explain that later. I should also mention that during the creation of these armors, I had the help of 2 friends when it came to creating ideas for attacks and abilities of the sort. One of them helped me out with more of the melee, and the other one for the more range / casters. So that way to kind of, if they ended up testing it, just to keep them surprised a little bit, but hey. And then lastly, before we get into it, some abilities are shared between the knights, as I will refer to them. And for each of the changes to these shared abilities, I will bring them up. If they are not, assume they are the same. But you'll probably be able to catch them since you'll see the stat block, obviously. So, to start off with, fire resistance. Just added that bit. Thought it'd make sense. I reduced the effect of anti-magic susceptibility, just so that it couldn't exactly be like nullified instantly. They're still susceptible to it, but it's not immediate. They're eliminated now. So then you have the undying traits. Those are unique things, just whenever they get brought down to 0 hit points, but it's not a critical hit, then they get to activate this little trait of theirs. Just a little bit of flavor and just keeping everyone on their toes. Then there's the gauntlet weapon. That's just a backup. It's literally just punching. And then finally, parry and riposte reaction. A little bit of flavor. Thought it'd be cool, so it's there. Anyway, let's begin. The animated knight barbarian. He's got 200 HP, 20 foot movement speed, 18 AC, generally the bulkiest and the slowest at base. We'll start Undying Wrath, taking non-crit lethal damage, allows the knight to attempt to attack a target with disadvantage, and it leaves a hazard that deals minor fire damage for a minute. Not anything too exciting. Now, arcane buildup, lose 50 HP, gain a charge. I didn't write anything about gaining back HP or anything like that because I thought it would be funny. You will see why. Next, Gauntlet, like I said, backup if nothing else. Skip that. Impurity Purge. Use an arcane build-up charge. More speed, more damage, but easier to hit. And at 3 stacks, the knight starts playing Tron. After 3 stacks, there's no additional bonus except stat increases. So that's it. Arcane Burst. Damage enemies surrounding the knight. This is created for the sole purpose of giving another option to consider. Because potential. Telegraph an attack. Release. After ending the previous turn using potential and not being interrupted, the armor can choose one of 3 attacks. Rushdown. The armor can run forward half of its speed before slamming down its weapon on an enemy within 5 feet of its ending point. Does not count as movement for the turn, dealing 19 damage. Cleave. Striking an enemy within 5 feet allows the armor to attack another creature within 5 feet for the same action. Arcane Burst. All creatures in a 20-foot line of sight cone take 4d6 fire damage. 1 stack of Impurity Purge reduces the action cost to a bonus action. 2 stacks of Impurity Purge remove the action cost entirely. Yeah. Parry Riposte. A low roll, the armor can get a counterattack, either with its weapon or by pushing away the target. If push comes to shove, the target has to make... Such a stupid line. If push comes to shove, the target has to make a save or take some damage and move further. Parry Riposte Plus, swap targets. That's it. Fighter Longsword. This is the first one I made, so as you can see, it's a lot less detailed. 150 HP, 25 foot movement speed. Undying Will. No burning mass, but can try to grapple. If grappling, it stays alive until the next turn. So something small that I thought would be interesting. Automend. Yes, it's second wind. 3 charges, each heal 15 HP, but can use 2 in a turn. Can also decide to roll to regain a charge. So, clearly, as the first, it seems rather simple when compared to the Barbarian. That one was one of the later creations. I'm debating on whether or not to add more features, and while it might be able to stand on its own, the Knight tiers are meant to be more of a captain of the squad, with some exceptions, so I wanted to give them some flair. That being said, this one seems quite lacking, so once I come up with some other ideas, I'll probably add them to this, but this is how it's ended so far. Next, Fighter, Sword and Shield. This was the second one. That's all I remember. I'm not keeping track of which one was first, second, third, last, right? AC 19. Alright. Undying Will. Same. Shield Bash. On a hit, target must make a con save or get a debuff. 1 stack. Disadvantage on all rolls until the end of their next turn. 2 stacks. Reduces movement. 3 stacks. Permanent until short rest or heal. So, also rather simple. Concussion isn't entirely clear, so it can be tricky. Another candidate for additional features. So, anyway. Ranger. AC 17. No undying trait. No special attack action. But, sighted in. +4 to hit. Limited to once every 3 turns unless it takes no damage and doesn't move. This is just kind of force some attention to be directed towards it. But obviously, if you know the trick to it, then, well, it's probably a lot easier to deal with. But in any case, obviously there's a rather simple pattern developing here. But I don't know much about Rangers other than the bad class jokes. In any case, Rogue. 30-foot movement speed, 17 AC. Spider Climb, because funny. Shadow Veil, yes. It's a mandatory edginess of the Rogue. Night turns nearly invisible. Creatures can try to perceive, vague specification. Doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, and attacks on the Night are at disadvantage. But if it's hit, the veil is lifted. Shadow Step. While concealed or in stealth, it can teleport 30 feet within line of sight. Has no parry and riposte. I might decide to add it back, we'll see, but so far I've decided against it. Next, interjection. If an enemy casts a spell within 30 feet, the knight can try to interrupt by throwing its dagger. The amount of times it can do this is tied to the amount that it has on it. It's a discount counter spell, I suppose. I kind of went on the side of caution with this. I guess I kind of forgot about the captain idea when I was working on these. But this kind of worked out during testing, so I'm not really complaining too much. The Wizard, Evoker. 120 HP, 17 AC. No anti-magic susceptibility. I just decided against it. You can add it back in your games, I suppose. Arcane Charge. It's spell slots. 8 charges. Arcane Script. Allows it to change damage type. So, neato. Undying Chaos can self-destruct. Buffed by any unspent arcane charges. There's no specified range or save, so I should probably add that. Multicast, multi-attack, but spells. Parallel program, parallel thought. Can concentrate on multiple spells at once. Recenter, regain spell slots. Spells, and their upcasting. Fireball, Ice Storm, Storm Sphere, and a couple others for reactions. Arcane Release, dispel and detonate a casted spell to deal damage. Bonus effects by type. Arcane Coating, add damage to an ally's next attack. Then Parry and Riposte, changed it, normal attacks, or cast Shocking Grasp or Thunder Wave. Wizard, Illusionist. This 120 HP, 17 AC, the same as the other wizard. I don't know why you thought it'd be different. Arcane Charge. This one is different, only has 6 charges. Undying Visions. Can cast a spell, target makes a con save with advantage. On a fail, target is afflicted with near sight that limits their vision to 10 feet. Everything beyond is pitch black. No, dark vision does not pierce the range. Have to specify that for at least one person. And sounds are directionless. It lasts 10 turns, repeating save at the start of each turn. Additional debuffs apply. Spells. Silence, hold creature, a mix of person and monster, and hallucinatory terrain adjusted. Duplicate, an illusionary double of an ally that moves independently. I'll explain that in a bit. Exchange, swap an ally with an illusionary double. Spending a spell slot, say that 10 times fast, to exchange their appearances too. Equivalent, spend a spell slot to just change the appearances. Parry and Riposte, attack or cast a spell. Parry and Riposte spells. Swap positions with a target, no opportunity attacks until the end of its next turn. Or, target has to make a save against being blinded or charmed for 2 turns. Visual Snare. Illusionary doubles burst when struck. Attacker must save against being blinded or deafened for 2 turns. These, but with slightly weaker attack accuracy, were what I worked with for a test run. I managed to play with all but 2, that being the Evoker and the Ranger, but I still got some half-decent information in any case. Against a party of 3 level 10 player characters, the encounter went mostly okay. The Knights missed many attacks since the players had decently high AC. The first wave of Knights consisted of 1 longsword fighter, 2 sword and shield fighters, 2 rogues. This took a long time to chip away at, given their health pool. Granted, one of the characters primarily used fire attacks. Second wave only consisted of a barbarian and an illusionist. The barbarian was briefly surrounded and beaten by 2 PCs, while the third held back for safety. The illusionist was mostly ignored even when the doubles came out, and as neat as that was, the barbarian wasn't able to apply enough pressure alone to force some kind of response against the caster. In the end, I came to the conclusion that I needed to improve the knight's accuracy. The other issues I had were encounter-based, such as parrying weaker / lower HP monsters that are easily dealt with, so that progress can be easily seen, and movement being nearly non-existent, having varying terrain and or changing attacks of opportunity. Yeah, I've got my fair share of rules that I think hinder the game, and a plethora of other people who've made videos talking about it. But this is about the knights, so I won't place my rants on the internet in this video. But yes, I did have the plan to record, and I was recording the test, but it ended up feeling so boring because of how little there was. It turned out just being, I do the same attack with my same weapon for the third turn in a row. So at that point, I just went, yeah, I'm going to delete this. This is probably not going to be the most helpful information to gather. In a way, I still do kind of regret deleting it because it could have helped with other people kind of helping with balance. But hey, hindsight's 2020. At this point, I've pretty much finished the script, so now I've got to kind of freehand it. But in terms of adding more knights, I don't want to overcomplicate it too much, because if each of these is supposed to have 3 tiers, which was the original plan, then I'd have quite a library to work with, and while that'd be fine, I suppose, I'd rather get these to a point that's fleshed out before exactly expanding to multiple tiers. So, in any case, one of the thoughts I had was to add a cleric slash artificer for the flavor, I suppose, because I'm not exactly healing with healing magic when it comes to constructs, I suppose. But I guess it depends on who you ask. I don't know. Flavor wise, artificer, technically cleric. But yeah, so having that to heal the barbarian and give it more health and make it even more of a freak of nature, well, freak of mankind, I suppose. I thought it'd be kind of funny. In any case, after the test, I gotta say, I think my favorite one is probably gotta be the illusionist. I said I would explain it, and here's that explanation. When it cast the illusionary double, it essentially cast it right on top of the same creature. And let's put it this way. Let's say initiative order, you're gonna have the illusionist, the creature, the allied creature, and then player character, we'll say. So, illusionist casts a double, the creature is now doubled. Then, on the creature's turn, the creature itself moves, but so does the illusionary double, independently. So, it effectively looks like it's split from the exact same spot. There's a clip from Endgame, I think, of Doctor Strange doing this, essentially. Picture that, but reduce it to each individual cast, I suppose. It depends. If you want to cast 6 instances, if you want to cast 6 instances of illusionary double on a single target, and then have it split into 7 different duplicates of itself, is that an oxymoron? Doesn't matter. Another funny thing I discovered from that test is, according to the way I wrote it, the illusionist can also cast illusionary double on itself. So, you can also do that. As well as the fact that it has multicasting, it can cast 2 of these duplicates. So prepare your area to get very crowded. Granted, these illusionary doubles aren't exactly physical, so I suppose they would be standing also in the same spot as other creatures, I guess. Or it depends on how you want to rule it. But I had the most fun with the illusionist during the test, and I think my players also enjoyed it the most. Granted, I only really got the opinion of one of them. That's the one that DMs for another game I played in. So, as for the other 2, they're more new to D&D, so their general opinion would probably be the same for all of them. Wait, the longsword fighter and the illusionist, same reaction, I suppose. But it's the one I had the most fun with. The barbarian, I'm a little disappointed because it didn't really get to shine, but that's not really no fault of its own. A little bit is a fault of mine because it was just it and the illusionist, so they both kind of just walked up to it and said, yeah, we're gonna hit this thing. And with 2 of them attacking the same target, it went down fast before it could really get to show off many of its features. So I'm a little disappointed by that. That's on me. I should have added more stuff, but I added too much in the first wave that it ended up being a real slog, and then on the second wave I pulled back a lot in fear of dragging it out even longer than I wanted to, and unfortunately I kind of hampered the barbarian a bit with that, so it's unfortunate. In regards to changes for the sword and shield fighter, funny idea that came up. I don't remember if I said it. I think it was my friend who had said it at the time, but letting it throw the shield, Captain America style. Thought it'd be funny. Could have been funny. Maybe I'll add it. Maybe I won't. I could just give it one legendary action and just be like, it could throw the shield. But I don't know how much stronger that would make it. As for the longsword fighter, I didn't really have a lot of ideas. I know I discussed it with one other friend, and the idea that I think came up there was to allow some sort of spell reflection, I think it was, or allowing it to like parry spells with its sword somehow. Very much anime flavor, I feel, but I mean, it's D&D fantasy. I don't know. Someone's gonna be upset at that. If you know someone who would be upset at that statement. But in any case, I have a lot of ideas for that. I could always boost its hand-to-hand capability. There's always a couple things I could add. It doesn't have to be too complicated, but I just wanted to have that feel of like the squad captain, I suppose. Same thing with the ranger. I don't know if I should add a couple more features, make it feel a little bit more flavorful, but at the same time, there's not a lot to pick up on aside from like a companion of sorts. I don't know, I could give it like a mechanical dog, wolf, or something along the sorts. But in any case, I believe that is everything for me to talk about with these armors, knights. I don't know if I should probably refer to them as knights. But in any case, that's probably everything that I have to bring up with these knights. There was one other idea that I had that I didn't really make a stat block for, but I suppose it's kind of a subset of these. I don't know if I used that right. Basic idea was a sort of mirror match, if you want to call it that. So a knight that essentially just mimics the player character, right? Their class and everything, but that's just kind of taking their stat block and having them fight against it, which I'm sure there's plenty of other ones, so it would depend. That would probably be a more flavor thing of those monsters, but in any case, it was something that I thought of. If I could make it viable, maybe I'll also make it. It's an idea I liked simply because of the flavor of it, but in terms of actual execution, I don't know how it would end up, so that's why I haven't made it. In any case, that's going to be all for this video. I just wanted to discuss these monsters that I made a while ago and that I had a bit of fun making. In terms of making new monsters, I don't know. I might have some opportunities, or more of a necessity to make new ones, but those wouldn't exactly be original. I'll probably discuss it a little bit later, but this is officially moving from knights to potential video. Is that I had the idea that I wanted to make a campaign. The issue being is that I want to discuss the process of making this campaign and everything, and share all these ideas and bounce around ideas to potentially make it as best as I can with my current skill level. But the thing is, the group of people that I know that play D&D, and the people that I consider actually wanting to have as players, is quite small, relatively speaking. And so discussing this campaign during its creation is effectively spoiling it to those could-be players. So I'm stuck in this position where I want to build this thing and I want to make it as best as I can, and the way that I want to make it the best as I can is bounce off ideas and make it as cool as possible. But I can't share it. So here we are. I'm considering either streaming the process. However, I don't know how many people would actually be interested in that, so that's an idea. The other one is just making, recording videos, do a little bit of progress, record a video, explain what I've made, and then get ideas from there, In any case, I've gone off long enough. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully, things will settle down. Again, the description. And hopefully, I should be more frequent, at least not a month in the making. Maybe a week, but not months. But in any case, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully, you'll be interested in what I've got forming in my head. But in any case, I still suck at outros, so have a good day. Exchange. Swap an ally with an illusionary double. Spending a spell slot